Hello, everybody. It's Stephen and Walter here for another episode of So Chatty, episode number 53 for April the 8th, 2022. Now, on this one, we're going to talk about several different topics. We are going to talk about the retreat that we were on last weekend. Now, we've talked about that fairly extensively in last week's live, and I also talked fairly extensively about it on this week's Idiot Quilter, and I included in there a video showing you what people were working on and things like that. So we're not going to rehash what we've already talked about, but we're going to be very critical about this one and very specific about being critical about it. Now, I want to say on the outset, this is not complaining, although it's going to sound like it, and it's not really to call out people or call out behaviors that we didn't like, but we're just exposing possibly the other side or the real side of going to an in-person retreat. Now, everybody has their own experiences with it. And I'm not going to say that we had a bad experience. We did not. But this time, and this is not our first rodeo, we've been on retreats before when we used to be able to go on them. It's the first one in quite a while, well, since pre-COVID. But we have decided that basically we would rather do virtual retreats than in-person ones, and we've made up our mind on that because of our experiences at this particular one. But as I said, this is a constructively critical review. This is not a let's slash their throat and call them nasty names kind of review. So right off the bat, I want to show you one of the things that got our goat for this one. And it's only ourselves we have to blame for it. So here you go. That's my pile of stuff that I was taking to the retreat. This doesn't include Walter's, which was just as big as mine. Now, at first glance, you might take a look at that and think, well, that's not too bad. Well, yeah, it's a little bit hidden. There are 3 black bags. There is a sewing bag. There is several other bags. And down on the floor behind those chairs, yes, we took our chairs with us as well. We'll explain that in a minute. There's another bag. And in the corner that you can't see, there's another bag. Those bags are heavy. And we're not young spring chickens anymore. And we had to get all of this stuff. And remember, this is just mine. We still had Walter's. We took 3 sewing machines. Each of us had a sewing machine, plus Walter took his serger because he was working on shirts. I had some kits. We also had extra stuff we had to take because we were the entertainment, so to speak, of this whole affair. So we had prizes, we had costumes, we had different things there. So yeah, if we weren't doing that, there would have been less stuff to take. And we probably could have got away with less. And as it was, I forgot one of my parts, essential parts to one of my kits as well. So yeah, what are your thoughts? You were the one saying trying to get it all into the car.
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff there. I have a Honda CR-V and it pretty much filled it, like with the seats down and everything. So,
and the other problem is, okay, so you get it into your car, then we drive an hour and a half to get to where we're supposed to go, and then you got to unload it. Oh yeah, there were 2 tables in there too as well. 2 small collapsible tables, because although tables were provided, it's always good to have a smaller collapsible one to extend your area. Like I set mine up as a pressing station kind of a thing for me. Yes, they did have ironing boards and some irons there set up as well. But here's the problem, and this is one of my complaints about an in-person. You always have somebody who goes to those pressing stations and decides that this is their time to spend 3 hours not moving, just pressing everything under the sun. They don't take into any consideration that somebody else might want to use that machine. We also had to take cutting mats with us. Yes, they had some cutting mats on long tables set up as well, but the same thing. I mean, I did use one of the cutting tables once, but not to cut, just to lay out my quilt. I got to that stage where it was almost done, and I needed a long surface to be able to get the next column of stuff pinned to it correctly. But I did that as quickly as I possibly could. But there was always somebody on those tables. cutting. That's just inconsiderate, okay? You should really look. If there's people standing there waiting, they're oblivious. They were completely oblivious, some of these ladies there, as though, you know, this is my personal space here. So there you go. So you got to take that kind of stuff with you if you don't want to stand in line for that. So yeah, that's why we had even more stuff with us, because we had a couple of irons as well. Cutting mats.
Portable irons, though.
Portable, but nevertheless, they still, all of this stuff has to be packed somewhere and in the car. Oh, and what you don't see here too are two other bags I had. One had our costumes. That was us. Not most people are taking costumes to one of these. And my clothes as well. And I wasn't taking that many clothes. I took an extra pair of jeans and an extra shirt, 2 shirts. And, you know, unmentionables. But that kind of stuff. And then you have your bathroom stuff. So you see, it does pile up. There's so much stuff we take, I make a list in advance and check it off as I'm packing it. And even still, I forgot something. So it never fails. Virtual? No. No heavy lifting. No packing up a car. If I can't forget anything because it's already here. So bonus. So there you are. We were tired. Weren't we? After lugging all, like, you had to lug it in, set it up. Luckily, most of the stuff we had wheels on it as well. And here's the other thing too. And I mean, I'm going to admit, I was nasty. There have been retreats I've been at before, and because I'm a man, there is always a couple of women in there. Oh, could you just get this and could you just lift that? No, I'm almost 65 years old. My back's not so great. No, I can't. I'm sorry, I can't. But apparently they don't understand the meaning of the word no when they ask this. Now, yeah, I get it. There were some ladies there with walkers, a couple of them. And, you know, this was not a spring chicken crowd, okay? And I don't mind helping out. But sometimes they take advantage of you because you're a man. You know? I kind of figure if you got it in your car and you got it there, then you can get it into the hall and you can pack it up and you can get it out of the hall and into your car. Of course, some of them had their husbands drive them up and do it all for them. So, but they're a man. You see, there is another thing. Now, am I woman bashing? No, I am not. I'm just saying something that's real. I'm not 20 years old. Okay?
That's for sure.
Oh, screw off. Whatever. So, yeah. So another reason why virtual retreats, as far as we're concerned, are better. Okay, let's talk about, I've already hinted at it, personalities. And I don't care any way I slice this, it's going to sound sexist. But women do not treat men equally at a retreat. Now, I know if you're a lady and you're listening to this, you're going to say, well, men for years have done this to women and blah, blah, blah. It's about time and it's turn around and all that. No. In fact, I was having this discussion with one lady quietly in a corner at the retreat, and she says, I'd rather deal with men than women because women are bitches. That's what she said. I'm quoting. She says, I'd rather deal with a man than with a woman. And that's not the first time I've ever heard that. Okay? I'm trying not to be sexist about it, but I am sure many of you understand what I'm saying. Because we were men, they kind of looked at us as an extension of their husbands. And we're not. They tried to tell us what to do. Now, not all the ladies were like this, okay? I don't mean to whitewash everybody in this crowd. But there were a few key individuals who seemed to think every time I opened my mouth, I mean, we were coordinators for the entertainment. They want to change the rules all the time. No, they thought they always had a better idea for how to handle something. Well, my answer to that is, then why didn't you do it? I didn't see you volunteering to help out with this and do that kind of thing. So, you know, put up or shut up is what I say about that. And there was a moment, I had a moment where I kind of blew up. I mean, and I'll tell you the situation. We had an auction. We were in costume. That was part of the Saturday night entertainment. And there was an auction. They had tickets. They put them in a bag for things that they wanted. They got to look at all the things up for auction. It was like a silent auction. Then I reached into each bag, pulled out a ticket. Their name was on the back of it. Oh, that was hell, trying to explain to some of them about how to write their name. I pulled one up, and it had this one person's name on it. It just had her first name and her last initial. Well, I had said it would be helpful because we had several people with the same first name, right? We had 3 Shirleys, kind of a thing. So I said, in that case, use the initial of your last name or your full last name with it as well. So, if it comes up and just says Shirley, which Shirley? And I kind of said, if that happens and the last name isn't there and I've already asked you to put that on, then I'm just going to discard it and draw the next name. You lose. As simple as that. So I pulled this one. This name came up, was, let's just say, I don't want to say the person's name, Leslie A. Okay. I've got a first name. I've got initial for a last name. I pretty much knew that I didn't think there was a second Leslie there. So I called out, Leslie A. Nothing. Leslie A. Nothing. Everybody was there. Except for one person. I'll come to that. So who's Leslie A? And I looked over at the person that was Leslie. I said, well, your name's Leslie, right? There's not another Leslie here. It must be you. I didn't put my initial. I used my full last name. So it's not me. I'm freaking. Come on. It is you. There isn't another Leslie in here. Your last name starts with an A. This isn't brain surgery.
Yeah, I know. She said it wasn't her. She filled the rest of the tickets with her full last name.
Yeah.
But
she didn't put that in. And I said, well, guess what? It is you. Here's your prize. Kind of a deal. So as we were going through these bags, we got down to the last couple. I'm pulling names out and I'm getting repeated names, right? Which I figured I would. But I went through all the names in the bag and there wasn't any, the last people. So I figured, okay, who has not yet won something on the auction? Because we had enough prizes for everybody to get something. They may not have got the thing they really wanted that they bid on, but they get something. And for that matter, most of the prizes were pretty much about the same anyway, so it didn't really matter. It was supposed to be just fun, just fun. So I said, stand up if you haven't won anything. 2 people stood up. I had three prizes left. I said, well, I've got 3 prizes left, and I've got exactly the number of prizes for the number of people here. That's when they started in on me. Well, you must have counted yourselves. No, we didn't. Well, you can't count. You made a mistake. No, I didn't count them. The coordinator of the whole affair counted them. And we double-checked. Well, no, there's got to be some. And I said, well, why don't you 2 of you come up here and pick a prize? Okay, out of this. Well, she's not here. Who? Well, the one that sits over there. I didn't know who it was. There was a vacant table. It did have a sewing machine on it, but there was no person attached to it. So I'm figuring, okay, this was after dinner. That person didn't come back for one reason or another. Too tired, went to bed. It's early, but I don't know. Or maybe they weren't feeling well or something like that. I don't know. Well, I said, well, who is it? Well, they didn't know her name. Well, is there anybody here that's a friend? And then somebody said, well, I think it's this name. I'm going to say Jill. That wasn't her name, but I'm just saying that to protect the innocent. Well, it's Jill. I said, okay, well, where is she? We don't know. We haven't seen her since dinner. Okay. So I'm saying, well, okay, to these other 2, we'll pick your prize. And then they're going, well, no, but Jill has to get a prize. I've got 3 of them. The one left over will be for Jill. But no, Jill has to get a prize. I'm losing it. Is there a friend here of Jill's saying, why don't you come up then and you pick her prize, even though it's only one prize, No, there was nobody that was her friend. And they're all shouting out these things at me. I whipped off my wig. And I think they may have thought I was joking, that it was part of the act. It wasn't part of the act. I said to them, look, I spent a lot of time putting this together, a lot of thought, a lot of effort, been working on it for weeks and the whole bit, and all I'm getting is a whole lot of people here yelling commands at me, and I'm not taking it anymore. I said, so I'll set that prize aside for Jill, if we ever see her again, and I'll give it to her. Let's move on, shall we? So we did. But the whole weekend was like that. Anything we said, anything we did, there was those in the crowd, not all of them, not all of them, who had something to say that was critical. I even did say to some people, we're not your husbands. We don't have a honey-do list from you. We do not have to do what you say. We are not married to you, attached to you in any which way. But there were those that didn't give it up. Now, there was one lady, poor soul, very nice lady. I've been in classes with her before. And she was being Miss Social Butterfly most of the week. I don't think she sewed one stitch all 3 days we were there. She was going around and she was just talking to other people. It was a little bit, you kind of, it's one of those kind of things when you think, well, yeah, you'll be polite for the first 5 minutes, but by the time 25 minutes goes by and you really want to get back to your work, you're kind of like making hints about everything short of, why don't you shut up and sit down? And but she's a very sensitive person too, and I knew that because I've been around her before, and she just doesn't realize it, kind of a thing. She's also a person who's a font of information. She has every trivial, she remembers everything she's ever read or seen, and she shares that knowledge with you. And there
sometimes in inappropriate
way. So, for example,
at the dinner table.
Somehow, don't ask me how the conversation of growing garlic came up at the table, but it did. And someone said something about garlic. Now, a lot of it is coming from China. She had a little trivia fact about how they grow garlic in China. And from what we gather, well, we've looked it up, and well, it is kind of disgusting, but a lot of things are grown in disgusting stuff.
And manure.
In manure, but this was manure that didn't come from a cow, apparently. Came from, us. But anyways.
Human waste manure. But actually, my dad, we live in a town in the, what do you call it? The water treatment plant used to always sell whatever the sewage, the
runoff that they treated.
They treated the sewage, and it became manure that they sold.
Yeah,
fertilizer, right? And so obviously that manure came from people.
Yeah.
And my dad got that stuff, and he used it to fertilize the lawn.
So there you go. But the point was, it didn't matter about garlic in China and how they grow it. The fact was, this other lady at the table, let's call her Bitcharella. She was an older lady. She was very set in her ways, and everything was about her. When the food came, it was served to her. She would send it back because they may have put a green vegetable on it. She didn't eat vegetables. Okay. And that explains why she was the way she was, because, vegetables help your system work. And I have a feeling that she hadn't had a good, what, in a long time. But anyways, she turned around and said, and I partially agreed with her, in polite company, you don't discuss this topic about the garlic being grown in something at the dinner table. Well, she said this. Now, the lady that was saying it was an older lady too. So she was reprimanding her like she was a child. And she was not nice about it. I don't want to hear about that at the dinner table. That is completely not right. That's not appropriate. So don't be telling us that. The other lady didn't get the hint. I mean, it was pretty obvious that this one did not want to hear about this at all. I mean, it wasn't like she was being subtle in any way. And this one was carrying on with her story. And then she just lambasted her verbally. Like right there. No, you won't. And blah, blah, blah. Okay. I get it. Thing what she didn't understand, though, was how this would affect this other lady. This other lady is very, very sensitive. She didn't know she was doing something she didn't mean to upset anybody or do anything. That's just the way she is. She started to cry. And she left the table. Now, she's the kind of person who would take, because I've been around her before, she takes anything like that to heart. She blames herself completely for it. And for her, this was devastating. And I almost did. Because I've been listening to this woman for the whole 2 days, bitch about everything. Everything was me for her. And, you know, I did. I mean, I'll admit it. I wanted to take any vegetables on my plate and just shove them right up her nose, you know, like kind of a thing. Cause it was sort of right. I didn't get physical. I almost went verbal on her. I was in my head, I'm going, look, but so I realized that was not going to make a bad situation better. So I just said, I said, you know, this other lady, I don't know how well you know her, but I've been in many classes with her. She's very sensitive. She doesn't realize that this was something she shouldn't be doing. I mean, kind of a deal. And so, well, that had no effect on this lady. As far as she was concerned, you know, this woman could die because she started to talk about garlic growth in China.
So there you go. You've got conflict that occurs
Yeah.
in these places. So.
Because, and she was an extreme example, but there were other ones there too that, like when we got there, there was two ladies that came a little bit later, and they want to sit together because they came together, rightly so. Now there was a problem with that because Donna, the hostess with the mostest, had arranged for exactly the number of tables in the hall because she had to book all that stuff in advance, and the people that own the place set everything up. And she told them how she wanted it set up. She even drew a diagram of how she wanted the tables arranged and everything for them to make life easier. And I guess when these two ladies showed up, there were two single spots, but not two together, and they want to sit together. So this caused a whole big conflab because we were trying to figure out how we could rearrange some tables so they could sit together. But we found out later why this was going on. Because there was a group of 4 ladies who decided to take the tables they were at and take a few from another spot to make their area a little bigger. They didn't ask permission to do this. They just took it upon themselves to rearrange the furniture after it had all been prearranged for this. Didn't ask, nothing. And that's where the problem was. We were able to accommodate the 2 ladies. We managed to get things to work for that and the whole bit. But you see, that's what I mean. People just come in and, you know, courtesy would have said, go to the organizer and ask, do you mind? We just thought you know, can we do that? Or is there a problem with that? But they didn't. They took it upon themselves to just redo everything from careful planning that somebody else put effort and time into. So that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. Then there's music. All right. I knew this would be a disaster. I did have my equipment there. I could hook up speakers. I could have music playing in the background if anybody wanted it. Kind of a deal. But I didn't offer to do that because I have learned from past experiences. Somebody, and this comes from my days as a teacher, somebody, if you put music on, like in the classroom, I used to say, kids, my music, I'm the DJ, you listen to what I want to listen to, or we don't put any music on at all, because every kid would have something. I don't like that one. Put this one. I don't like to put this one. Well, that's what I knew this would happen with this group. We don't like this kind of music. We want that. And then there are ones who I can't sew and listen to music at the same time. Another one, all about that person, right? Like, too bad. I thought women could multitask. Well, obviously you're one of the ones that can't. So, but I didn't offer. But then someone approached me and said, hey, could you put on some music? And I looked at him and said, well, I can. And I said to him, you know what's going to happen? That didn't matter to these people. They thought, well, what the hell? We'll just keep it down low or whatever. And then one said, do you got country and western? No, I don't. I hate it. Not putting it on. That's what I told her. Nope, sorry. My system, not playing country and western. And then somebody suggested, which I thought was a good suggestion because of the age group of the people. Can you put on some 80s, maybe, like retro, put down? I said, okay, that would probably work, because most people, you know, from this group would be more familiar with music from the 70s, the 80s kind of a thing. That matches their age.
I would have thought more like the 40s and the 50s.
Well, for a few of those old birds, yeah. But whatever. So I did. I put it on, and it seemed to be fine. It was down low. I even, where the ladies that were sitting closest to where the speakers were, I showed them, I said, if it's too loud for you, you know, you can just turn it down a little bit and everything. Things were going fine. Came back in a little bit later. The music was off. Now, the first thing I thought was, did someone turn it off, or did I forget to set up my computer that the music was coming from to loop? Maybe it only played one song because I had left after it started. Maybe that's what happened. So I went up and I asked. Yeah, this is like asking, uh, there's a 3-year-old sitting on the 4-year-old sitting on the floor, and they're covered in chocolate, and there's a chocolate trail all over the room because there was a box of chocolates that mommy said do not touch, and they did. And mommy says, "Did you get into those chocolates?" "I didn't do it. Wasn't me. Evidence is all over their face, right? Okay. You don't expect this from adults. Well, guess what? You get it. So I said, "So did someone turn off the music?" That's all I said. Did anybody touch the music, or is there something wrong? Like, "Oh, I don't know. I wasn't listening." "Oh, I didn't see anybody." Liars. Somebody had to have turned the music off. Well, then I found out who it was. It was the main coordinator of the whole thing. And the reason she turned it off is because she had a headache coming on, and I think she has things like that can really wreck her mind. And she said, "I've just taken something." She says, "So it'll go away, then we can put it back on." I says, "Not a problem. I don't want you to suffer because of it. It's no sweat off my ass whether we have music or not. I don't care. If I want music, I can put in my headphones," and which I probably should have done more often that whole weekend, but I didn't. But anyways, it was just this whole, "Was it me? Didn't do it. Didn't see it." Yeah, I guess you're never telling a lie if you'd never admit to anything. So, I don't know. So anyways, yeah. Now, I am being critical of it. So let's move away from the people. Because when you go to an in-person retreat, you are going to get personalities, and you're going to get some that clash. And that's just any environment. On virtual, you have a mute button. And you can just turn them off.
Not only that, where's that? Where are we going with this? I
was going to talk about food instead of accommodation.
Okay, just before you go there, we took a lot of stuff there. If you're doing a virtual retreat, you don't have to take your stuff anywhere.
No.
In fact, you wouldn't have forgotten your blocks because they would have been at home.
You must have been asleep at that part. That was at the beginning.
Okay,
so we were talking about that. Yeah, but right. And then there's people who want to come over and see what we're doing. Well, that's fine. That's fine.
Actually, there is something annoying when somebody comes over and looks at what you're doing, because I was doing shirts, right? So,
you were unique.
Yeah, I'm a little different because it's a quilt retreat, but I'm sewing something different, right? So anyway, they're looking at me doing shirts, and they're looking at it and saying, 3 people actually did this to me. They came in and they go, "Oh, who are you making shirts for?" And I said, "Well, either me or Steve," right? And then they said, "Oh, are you going to sell them? Do you sell them?" And I'm going, "No, I don't sell them, because first of all, by the time you buy the material, right? And the hours it takes me to make one of these shirts, because I'm not too speedy, I'll never, ever get the money back from them. And I don't want to be criticized for making a shirt that isn't perfect for somebody." So
the shirt you're wearing, which is one of your creations, that's a $500 shirt. Anybody wants to buy it? Yeah. Slightly worn. Yeah. But that, I don't know what it is about people at this, but they say the same thing about quilts, or when they hear you have a long arm. We've talked about this before. It's this make money from it. And why? Then it's not any fun anymore. But you get that, it becomes annoying, that question all the time.
They don't seem to understand that I'm actually making clothes because I want to make clothes for myself, right? And there's always this thing about, "Oh, well, you're, I was making 2 shirts. I do like a closet. I'm a type of person that likes to have a closet full of shirts. So it's not like I just have one shirt."
You don't?
So.
Well, it's not so much that's an annoying question. I mean, there's another way to look at that. When they ask you that question, maybe what they're really saying is, "That is so good. You should sell it. It could sell. It's so professional." And maybe that's the way to look at that kind of thing. Look at it as a compliment, I think.
Possibly, yeah.
I mean, but that's not really anything that's that annoying. It's just that you hear that a lot.
I mean, luckily there was nobody there that actually stood over my shoulder and watched me. And that would annoy me.
Yeah. Well, that was one thing. Yeah, I didn't see that happening. It didn't happen to me either, or whatever. And I think people were aware. I'll give everybody credit for that. I think they were aware that they didn't want somebody standing over their shoulder watching them either. So, they were being courteous about that kind of thing. But you never have to worry about that on a virtual retreat. No one's going to stand over your shoulder. And you can always turn off your video, kind of a thing, if you don't want them to see what you're doing. So now let's talk about the facility we were in and what really annoys us about this. Now, we have been to this facility before, so we knew what to expect. It's fairly basic. It is a Christian Bible camp, an off season, or maybe even during the season.
I don't know, you keep calling it a Bible camp, but I think it's a Christian resort.
Okay, well,
because
whatever.
I mean, a Bible camp doesn't really. Well, what is a Bible camp?
Well, it's a place where you camp or stay in cottages, and there's Bibles, and you do Bible study, and you have church services. And
yeah, well, they
study.
do have that. Yeah.
So, anyways, but probably is a better term, Christian resort. It's just I hate to use the word for resort because if this was a resort, it gets 1 star. Okay, it's not 5 star, but we knew that. I mean, it's clean, it's comfortable, I guess. It's not luxurious, but we weren't going there for luxury. We're going there for, to sew. What did this cost us? This cost us almost $1,000 for 2 of us. Yeah. It was about 400, I think it was with tax, $485 a piece.
Yeah.
About that. So yeah. So
it was like 3 nights accommodation, and we're staying in a sort of a efficient motel room type of thing.
Small little
and
tiny.
Both of us are sharing 1 room. So
yeah.
And then you had lunch and dinner. We had dinner the first day. We had breakfast, lunch, and dinner the second day. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner the third day. And then the 4th day was just lunch.
Yeah. Like we were up there for half a day kind of a thing on the first day, and we left right after lunch on the last day. So
yeah.
So those were your meals that you had. Now, when we've been there in previous years, pre-COVID, they always had a really nice salad bar. I always loved the salad bar because it had a real wide variety of things on there, something for everybody to like. And the meals were all served buffet style.
And they usually had 2 selections.
Yeah, 2 choices in their entrees, main, and then you had all your sides and everything like that. But because of COVID, they've gone to table service. They basically plate your food. You really don't have any choice. Like 1 night was ham, 1 night was chicken, 1 time it was roast beef, kind of a deal. And that's fine on that. As long as you don't serve me fish, I'm happy because I don't like fish. And they didn't have any fish. And it had like vegetables and things like that with it as well. And the first night at dinner, they asked you what size you wanted. Did you want a regular meal? Did you want a smaller meal, like if you had a smaller appetite? Or did you want like a large meal, like a little extra kind of a deal? And I think most people were getting regular, but there were a few at our table that got the smaller meal too, and that kind of thing. But that was only that night. Any other night, they stopped asking us that.
Yeah.
With it, so
which was a little bit annoying because like one of the nights they gave us chicken and it was a fairly large portion.
Yeah,
and a lot of people couldn't
finish it. There was a lot of waste on that, so you really couldn't complain about the portion sizes in terms of you wouldn't go hungry. There was no 2 ways about it. But let's talk about the seating arrangements. Up until our Ontario government decided to lift up a bunch of restrictions on COVID. People have been up there for retreats before this one. They were a 6 people table. They were only sitting 3 at a table. You had to have your masks on until you went to eat. And then, if you're moving around in there, all the help were masked up. Well, that's not how it worked this time. All the help had masks on. We had masks in when we came in and left, although not everybody was doing that. And we had 6 people at a table. So social distancing was now out the window on this one. So in a week's time, if we're not on here, you'll know why. The quality of the food, not great.
I guess it was sort of more like cafeteria style, I guess. But it wasn't necessarily, It wasn't great. A lot of stuff was prepackaged, I think. And what you did get was overcooked.
Yeah, the chicken. I think the other reason the chicken was left over from that night was it was so overcooked. It was dried out. I
And
mean,
there
I
was
cut into it and dust blew out of it.
and there was no gravy or anything
No.
with it that could
You heard this sound a
moisten it up.
lot. You know,
So,
kind of.
and it really didn't have any flavor to it either.
No.
So it didn't really wasn't very tasty.
Well, nothing had a lot of flavor to it.
No.
The ham they had was spongy.
Yeah.
That's the texture of it, was spongy. I mean, nothing tasted, except for that chicken, nothing tasted horrible. It just was blah. But what got my goat was the way that the help talked about the food. And I think, have you never, ever eaten anywhere else but here? Because, like, the poor young girl who was bringing us dinner at our table kept talking about the desserts and how, oh, that was her favorite. She really liked that.
And they were just basically frozen style desserts that were thought in.
Yeah, they were.
The cakes were
kind of like what you'd buy at, well, not even as good as M&M's. But
you know, I don't know if M&M's is I think that just may be a
that may be
Canadian
just
thing.
Canadian. You know, one of those places you go to that has a lot of frozen foods.
Yeah.
And you get like complete dinners and stuff for desserts and that, and take it home, you thought, and that kind of deal. So, okay. But having said that, we weren't expecting to be eating filet mignon every night and having surf and turf or anything like that. We knew that. But I thought that the food was actually not as good as it had been previous years, and that's not saying a whole lot.
Yeah.
Okay. So that,
Like, I mean, even in previous years, at least you had a choice from salad bar, and you could easily make a meal out of the salad bar, and then or just have a small selection of additional food from the hot buffet.
yeah.
And a lot of people did that, where you had more of a choice, and here you sort of got stuck with what was put in front of you.
Yeah. Now, I really don't have any complaints about what was put in front of me, because as long as it's not fish, I'm happy. But then we had that one lady sitting at our table that said doesn't eat any vegetables, and my God, they put vegetables on her plate one night. I think it was peas or something. I don't remember what it was exactly, but you would thought that the earth had opened up and was spewing forth hot lava that was approaching her very quickly, which in my imagination, I saw that as a possible scenario. But, oh yeah, take it away. I don't want vegetables. I don't eat those. Well, then just eat around them. For God's sakes, don't make it a crime, a war crime here because you got a pea on your plate. Jeez, kind of a thing. But, you know, it was all about her. So, yeah, food sounds good. Here's another thing. Now, okay, we're at a Christian resort, all right? The people who were serving us, the gentleman and his wife that kind of run the place, from what we know, they always had grace before a meal. Now, I don't really have anything against that. I just feel that in this day and age, okay, yeah, it's a Christian Bible camp, so, or a Christian resort, so I guess you have to expect those kind of things on it. But it just felt a little awkward, because what happened if we'd had someone in the crowd that was Muslim? I don't think we did.
No.
But I'm not a Christian.
And I'm not, I've never really gone to church much in my life. So,
it makes you feel a little awkward.
yeah, it does. It always puts me, because I don't usually engage in the prayer part, like, you know, so it's, it always puts me off a little bit. Like, I mean, nowadays, a lot of places, like when I first started working, I worked for the Ontario government, and they used to make you swear on a Bible, right?
Oh, yeah.
When you started working for them. But then over the years, more and more people were coming from Muslim countries and stuff like that, and they didn't really want to do that because that wasn't part of their religion. And I understand that, because I mean, I would swear on the Bible, but it isn't really something I grew up with either.
No.
So,
And, you know, but then on the other hand, I mean, we can get all the help we can get. So go for it. And it is a Christian resort, so I guess you have to
Abide by the rules.
abide by the rules. Yeah, basically. So it just made me feel a little awkward, but wasn't a deal breaker with there. Now the accommodation we had, Walter's already explained it. It's
Wasn't bad.
It's not bad. It's nice and it's clean. There's, like we have a kitchen kind of area in there, bathroom, running water and everything. So yeah, really, it was fine. I mean, you have to remember we were paying $485, that included tax, for 3 nights. Well, you can't get a hotel room anymore for under that for 1 night. So, a bargain. And so, I mean, yeah. Now, all these things that we have said probably sound like we're bitching about it. We had an okay time. But when you weigh the cost and the having to transport all your stuff and pack it up and unpack it and all that stuff, the quality of the meals and the whole bit, I would have rather done a virtual retreat for 3 days at home. Less hassle. Now, I know that those ladies like to go to in-person retreats because it gets them away from their husbands and from their, well, most of them have grown-up children now for that because the age group is what it is. But it gives them, it's like a little bit of a mini vacation. They don't have to clean. They don't have to make meals. They don't have to do the dishes and stuff like that they probably get saddled with a lot. So it's a bit of a break for them. So I understand that.
But for us,
that's not
it's not a huge incentive.
No.
So, I mean, I'm not getting away from him when I go to a retreat.
No, it's true. You're with me. Ha ha ha. Very funny. But anyways, so that's kind of why we're probably not going to go to another one. We'll just stick to the virtual ones. Because those are working out pretty
Yeah, I mean,
good.
like prior to COVID and that, there weren't really that many virtual events that you could sort of go to.
No.
And since COVID started and everything, there more and more people were doing virtual events. And we sort of got used to them and we're sort of accustomed to them. And the other thing that's kind of nice about virtual events is that you get to meet people that aren't like, I mean, when you go to a physical retreat, most of the people that are in the physical retreat come from the immediate area. And when you go to a virtual retreat, you get people from all over the place. You get people
all over
from
the world,
all over the United States and all over Canada and
other parts.
And other parts. I mean, the only reason you don't get necessarily people from a lot of other countries is because of the time difference.
Yeah.
But occasionally you get somebody from Australia or for Europe or Britain or something like that. And it's kind of nice to talk to people from other viewpoints.
Yeah. So that's basically, we're sticking to virtual. Yeah.
Plus, I like the fact that I don't have to move my machine and everything.
Yeah.
I have everything at my fingertips.
Yeah.
I can't forget something.
Yeah, that's right.
I might misplace something, but I can't forget it.
So anyways, that's I hope you don't think that we were bitching about the ladies. I know in certain stations there's no way around it. We're being very honest about it.
But that happens anytime you go on vacation and you're with a group of people.
You're going to have.
There's always one or two people that you can't get along with. So.
Yeah. Well, we got along with everybody.
Well, we got along with everybody, but there is always somebody, a certain personality.
There's just annoyances. Annoyances. And it's a Christian resort, so it's not like you can go to the bar and have a drink.
It's a Christian resort that's dry. So
yeah. So moving on, other news here because this has been going on a while now. So we're going quickly, just kind of a follow up. I picked up my AccuQuilt cutting machine that I had ordered from Kawartha Quilting, which is a place about an hour north of us or less. And that's great, and I'm enjoying it, and I'm going to be talking about it next week on the Idiot Quilter. But there were some things about this particular quilt store, and I really like this quilt store. And I had reviewed them in the past, but there were some things that were very confusing. So when I had a list of things I wanted to ask them about their website, and the reason being is I judge online quilt stores, my first impression of what I get when I go onto their website. Because if I've never dealt with them before, that's all I have to go by. And you know that if you've been watching the Idiot Quilter, because I've been reviewing for the last year. I've been reviewing stores across Canada. So I had some questions about them that were kind of annoying me. And it really started because I started to ask some questions through email and I wasn't getting any answers. No one was answering my emails. And I went into their chat mode. They had a chat thing and the same thing was happening. And I finally got it answered and I got a what sounded to me in tone was a little bit snarky. I was confused about their terminology for differences between restocking soon, out of stock, and sold out, because we were confused. Because one of the items that I ordered, one of the dies, was I thought it was in stock because I was being very careful to order only stuff that was in stock, but maybe I missed it. I don't know. But I didn't know if I was going to get it or not at all, because restocking soon sounds like, well, yeah, okay, so you're out, you're getting more soon. When soon? What's soon mean? A day, a week, a month, a year? Out of stock. Well, okay, what makes that different from restocking soon? Does that mean...
Yeah, like there's a box that says you click in stock or out of stock. In stock will show you everything that's in stock, and will always also show you everything that says restocking soon.
Yeah.
Which to me means out of stock.
But then they also had sold out.
Yeah.
So does that mean you're...
No, they don't have, they just have in stock and out of stock.
I thought they had a sold out.
And if you click on out of stock, everything that comes up is sold out.
Oh, okay. So we were confused by what that meant. And I was concerned because I'd already paid for this one die. So I didn't want to be sitting waiting months and months and months for this thing either. I mean, just give me a credit on that or give me my money back. I'll find it somewhere else or I'll order something else from your site. And we also want to know, they said they had a discount on AccuQuilt future purchases. So if you bought a system from them or whatever.
If you bought a machine, actually.
Yeah, bought a machine. Then you're supposed to get some sort of future discount on things, but it wasn't clear. Do you get that only one time? Do you get it every time? And how much is it? Or what is it? They said that and free gifts or something.
Yeah, and the girl behind the till that was in there didn't seem to know this.
No.
And she couldn't find it on the website, but I did find it.
But we found it for her. And she didn't know how that worked. And I said, okay. She kept saying Zach was the guy to ask, but Zach wasn't there. Zach was on an airplane coming back from the East Coast or something as we speak. Then the other thing is I wanted to know about, the delay in answering emails and things, because I find that very annoying. I don't expect them to answer me within the first 5 minutes, but I expect them to at least answer me within a day. And I wasn't getting that. And I brought that up to this same girl, who was a little snarky at the beginning when we were there. Now, maybe she was having an off day. Maybe she did mention right up front that they were short staffed. We found out later that there were a couple of their staff people that were off because they had contracted COVID and that kind of thing. And maybe this wasn't her usual job. It's a family-owned business. We don't know if she's a family member or not, but maybe her job is in administration or something around there. And she was working the counter. We were the only ones in the store, actually, when we went in. So it was a good time to ask these questions because it wasn't like we were taking up time on another customer. But she was a little snarky. But she, like I said, maybe she was doing a whole lot of stuff and how that happens. And there's also on their website, it tells you like the progress of your order. And it had an order that I had made back in October, which was for big rolls of batting, which I'd already picked up and everything, but it has always said that order's been unfulfilled. Now, not that I was worried about it, because I had it already. I got it. But my latest order was saying unfulfilled too, but I was picking that up. But I mean, of course, maybe after I picked it up, they would put it in as fulfilled. Or maybe once that other die, there's still that outstanding die that hasn't come in. But this affects your reward points. They have a point system. And for every dollar you spend, you get 2 points. And when you get 100 points is like $5 off. Well, the batting I had picked up and ordered was well over $500. Oh, I was more than that because I bought for Annie thread nut. I think I spent over $1,000 that day.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't have any of the points for that. And because that's 3,200 points, roughly. Or, no, sorry. On that order, that would have been about 2,400 points or something like that. And then on this AccuQuilt one, that was $1,700. Plus I bought some more things. So that's over 3,400 points. So the points are adding up, right? And everything. And I just, if it's tied into this other thing that says unfulfilled, and obviously it was because I didn't show the points. So a guy came out from the back. I think he may have been one of the family members or whatever. I asked him these questions, and I said to him, I review online quilt stores on my YouTube channel, and I just want to ask these questions because I want to get my information right. I don't want to, say something that isn't true. So I asked him the questions about all these things I've asked you, and he was very nice and gave me very concrete answers, not bullshit. And they have basically what was happening with the email was that was Zach's job. Now I had to write to Zach because one of my dies when I got home and unpackaged it was slightly damaged, and I wrote to him. He wrote back to me within 10 minutes of that. Maybe I already scared him. I don't know about it, and we've got that all solved, and we know now what all this other stuff means. Like the restocking soon means they can still get it, and they are getting it. They have an order outstanding on it. They're waiting for it to come in. Out of stock means they're never getting it again. They're not going to order it anymore.
Or they can't get it.
Yeah. So, all right, that's good. I would think then, though, that should be changed. It says saying out of stock, because that would suggest to me that you are going to get it at some point. If they know they're not going to ever get it, then I think they should just take it right off their website. Don't have it there, because.
But then on the other hand, people might say, "Oh, I know that they can get there's this one die available on AccuQuilt."
Yeah.
And they're constantly phoning them and saying when you got this die, when you getting it, and stuff like that.
Yeah, I suppose so. Maybe they figure that cuts down on that kind of thing. They fixed up my unfulfilled order status and everything like that, so it's fine. But the point I'm bringing up about this is I've heard of people who they don't get an email answer and they don't bother to do follow-up, and they just badmouth the company for that. That's happened with Ultimate Sewing, because we've heard that from some people that Walter has dealt with in his classes about them, which is unfair. I mean, you can't expect these people to read your mind, but you need to follow up. If you don't get an email answered within a reasonable amount of time, then find an alternative. That's what I was doing by going to the chat mode. And if they hadn't have answered that chat mode, they find it. I was going to call them. There was a phone number. I'll get somebody on the phone. Basically, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. Okay. And I don't think it hurts like the guy was telling me that people make certain assumptions and they only see what they want to see. Like they have instructions on things, and yep, I know exactly what he's talking about. Sometimes people interpret things the wrong way. That's why I was asking my questions. I wanted his explanation, so I wasn't interpreting it wrong, and that kind of thing. And I thanked him for his time, because he didn't brush me off. He spent time with me. He explained a lot of things to me there about some other things, like gave me some inside information about how their business runs and what they're up against these days as well, and whatnot. And I appreciated the time he spent, which says to me, instills more confidence in me that when I deal with this company, and I will deal with them in the future, and I've dealt with them in the past, that this is a company that should be dealt with, that you can go to and expect reliable service, except for that one girl, and I think she was just having a bad time. That's what I'm going to say. I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt for that. Maybe she's like that all the time. I don't know. We'll find out at some point. Okay, so I got an AccuQuilt, and I bought a new Janome sewing chair, and I'm going to talk about that next week on the Idiot Quilter, and I'm loving it. And I spent a lot of money for it because it's way overpriced, But I tried one. One of the ladies had one at the sewing retreat, and I have a lot of problems with the chair I have. Walter's actually sitting on the chair right now. How do you find it?
Yeah, actually, it's pretty
Pretty
good.
comfortable. It gives you support in your back, and it doesn't cut off the
Yeah,
circulation
one
in
thing
your
that's
legs.
nice about it, I think, because most chairs, when you sit on their back, they have a spring in them. And this one doesn't. It's sort of solid, so it won't spring back. It gives you a lot of support.
Actually, here's what it looks like. I forgot I had a picture of it. So there it is there. That's my new Janome sewing chair. And right now, I'm loving it. So it was worth I think it was $329 before tax. So yeah, not cheap. Not a cheap chair. If you go on Amazon, you'll see them for as much as $800 and up for the same chair. So beware of that. Don't ever assume that because you bought it at a quilt store or something, things are going to be more expensive on Amazon. That's not really true always. So yeah, I'm happy I bought it. And I'll be doing more of a review on it next week on the Idiot Quilter. Okay, so that's the end of our bitching session. And I hope, as I said before, I hope you saw it as being, honest, constructively critical, and just explaining things from our point of view and our experience. I hope your experiences have been better. Ours wasn't horrible. It's just made up our mind that we like virtual better. We're virtual people. Okay. Anything else you want to say?
No.
Didn't say much. I said it all.
No, I know.
Yeah. Okay.
You're blabbermouth.
Oh, be quiet. Well, you're a bitch. But anyways. Oh, I am going to insert in here somewhere a little video that I don't know if I will put it in. No, I don't think I'll bother. This is long enough. Don't worry about it. Forget I even said that. Okay, we're leaving. Bye-bye. We have another virtual retreat. I have. Through the Quilter's Way, I'm on a virtual retreat starting tonight. So, yeah. Like I said, like virtual. All right. Have a good week.
Bye-bye.
We'll talk to you all later. Say goodbye, Walter.
Bye-bye.